Good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock and time for our council meeting to begin. If we'd all please stand, I'm going to lead us in the pledge. All right, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, and you can be seated. We don't have an invocation today. If you are here planning to speak on items on or off the agenda, I'd like to remind you to please fill out a speaker card with our city clerk so that we can organize and accommodate all the speakers that we have. Okay, city clerk's report on posting the agenda and roll call.
Yes, Madam Mayor. The agenda was posted on January 4th at 12:50 p.m. Councilmember Almaderis?
Here.
Councilmember Bracco?
Here.
Councilmember Klein?
Here.
Councilmember Hilton is absent. Councilmember Marks?
Here.
Councilmember Tovar?
Here.
And Mayor Blinkley.
Here. Okay, under orders of the day, we have none. Under employee introductions, we have one. Chief Espinoza. Yes.
I'm happy to introduce our newest team member. This is Police Officer Vicki Valencia. Yes, for today's firm actual start date, she comes to us with 5 years of experience with the Santa Cruz Police Department. Born and raised in Broomville and attended local schools in the county of Santa Cruz. While at the Santa Cruz Police Department, she was a training officer, defensive tactics instructor. She was also a member of the hostage negotiation team as a predecessor. In her spare time, she likes to spend time with her golden retriever, Riley, and loves anything else. Please welcome to the team.
I'll be quick. I just want to thank you guys for having me, and I'm really excited for this new journey with Gilroy, a big family now. So thank you guys.
Thank you and welcome. Okay, under ceremonial items, we have none. So that brings us to presentations to the council. Item 3.1, this is for anyone wishing to speak on items that are not on tonight's agenda. So again, if that's you, please make sure you have filled out a speaker card with our city clerk sitting right here. Okay, Ty, do you have speakers on this subject?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. I actually currently have 12 speaker cards.
Okay, so the time limit will be 2 minutes per speaker. If you could keep your comments to that, you'll come up here to this front podium that's right in front of me. And we'll start with calling Don Perino, followed by Ron Kirkish, and followed by Tom Miller. If you hear your name, could you please come up to the front row? Yes, Don. You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes tonight.
2 minutes because of the number of speakers, yes.
City Council, Police Chief Espinoza, and my service doctor is with you. I have a cat, 15-year-old cat, that turned sick at 32 years. We took her in on the second, x-ray by the third, 2 pellets in her body, a pellet gun to her shot. We don't know when that we received her, December 5th, 2009. She's been a house cat for like 3 years with the pandemic. We also had a neighbor and a trap for raccoons caught from our female cats for a half hour or an hour until they let her go to try to find out. And then they put nails on the common fence for the claws. Then we had a black cat that we went after for 13.5 years. She was torn and feathered, but with the wood chips. The last 2 years ago. Right around our house. One house to the northwest, northeast, that
on. I'm sorry. I know. Time is up. Thank you, though. Thank you for being here.
Mayor,
All right,
I don't
yeah?
think the mic's on, just FYI. Ty, just,
You want to make sure the mic is on. He might not have been speaking.
yeah.
The mic was on.
Okay.
Let me go check to verify.
Hang on. It's not on.
Okay. Testing.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Good
Go
evening,
ahead.
Mayor Blankley, Council, City Manager, City Attorney, and community. Once again, on December 4th, 2023, I stood before you and reported that Zach Hilton's seat was empty, vacant, and he was now absent for the 19th time over the past 3 years. Tonight, January 8th, 2024, only 6 days later, Councilman Hilton's seat is once again vacant for the 20th time, and this is the first meeting for 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Miller, and then Ruth Garcia and Teo Castillo.
Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody here. I want to talk about parklets, but I also want to talk about the reason and a little bit about my history, and it does relate to parklets when you hear my history. I grew up here. I went to elementary school here. I graduated from Gilroy High School. I went to Gavilan College for a year and a half, and I've always loved Gilroy. And I would come downtown and see that I deal with a lot of downtowns and a lot of cities. And I come downtown and I see the city wasn't thriving. So what I did, I saw this building that I used to go to Boy Scouts, and then it became Ford's department store, and my mom used to buy me clothes there. And I thought, oh, maybe I could help thrive downtown. So I went to a bunch of different tenants. I personally interviewed a bunch of people throughout California. I got a tenant. All well and good. Did a lot of improvements to the building. So then I thought, well, what else can I do to help make it thrive? There wasn't any other restaurants on the block. And so I thought, I was talking to another city manager up in Seattle, and he was all saying, hey, we have this parklet thing is really thriving. So I said, oh, that's a good idea. And he's telling me that it just brings people together. When you see 4 people in a parklet, and when you're driving by, it just enthuses as people to interact with each other. If you're driving by and you see, in particular my parklet, it was 2 parking stalls. If you drive by and saw 2 parking stalls, you would just keep driving. So the idea that, and then the whole idea about where this parklet came from, it was totally permitted. It costs a lot of money to put all the permits together, do the structural engineer. It is a Fort Knox parklet. I mean, and rightfully so, the city was encouraging, since it's going to be the first one. So I helped out. I just want
Tom,
to emphasize the fact that
you're out of time, not town.
Right.
Time.
Well, thank you.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm sorry that it's a 2-minute limit. There's that many people speaking. Okay. Ruth Garcia, Teo Castillo, and Evelyn Hudson, if you could all please come to the front, and Ruth should be at the microphone.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ruth Garcia, and I'm a local business owner. I own the local Windermere office located right next to the Chamber of Gilroy. And the reason why I'm here today is because I feel like the parklets should be addressed in the same topic. I think one's not different than the other. And I think the fact that we're calling one oranges and one apples speaks to part of the problem that we have going on in Gilroy. I think they both need to be addressed fairly, and I think the city needs to understand part of the reason why Ms. Castillo has not handled this issue in a timely manner with you guys. And so because she isn't great in English, I'm going to assist her today. We're just asking that you put it back on the agenda and that you look at them both fairly. We're asking that whatever rules apply to one, apply to the other. We don't have an issue with tempos. Love Dan Nelson, love their parklet, but we think both of them should be judged fairly and on the same terms.
Okay. Evelyn Hudson. No. Guys, we can't have clapping because it can intimidate someone who speaks a different opinion. Please, this is supposed to be a fair space for all, so there is not to be that kind of behavior, please. Okay? So next is, who's speaking next?
Teo.
Teo, okay.
Hola, buenas tardes. Acérquese los. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Teo Castillo y soy dueña de Station 55. Primero que nada, me disculpo por no haber asistido a ninguno
Madam
de
Mayor,
los.
can we stop for a second?
I'm sorry. Okay, we have Wordly?
Yes, let me
Okay.
get that translated. I was
Yeah,
not aware
we,
that she
we
was
have a
here.
translator. We just need to know that in advance.
Oh, okay.
Give me 1 second here.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I actually spoke with her in English today, and that was just fine. So,
Uh,
okay.
I try my best.
Okay, I didn't have any trouble understanding you.
So if that's okay
That's
with you.
whatever you need to do. Yeah, in the future, translation is something you're supposed to request in advance so that we can be prepared. That's all. Ty, would you like me to move to someone else and then come back?
Oh, no, I'm
Okay.
almost ready.
Okay,
Did I finish my 2 minutes?
you did.
Okay, perfect. Do you want Evelyn next while you set her up so we don't
Oh,
waste your
no,
time?
we're
said
ready
no.
now.
Okay, go ahead.
Empieza.
Sí. ¿Listo? Ok. Mi nombre es Teo Castillo y soy dueña de Station 55. Vengo a presentarme ante ustedes porque no había podido hacerlo antes y me disculpo por ello. Estaba hospitalizada con mi bebé con un problema muy fuerte, pero ya estoy aquí. Solamente quiero agradecerles que nos reciban y pedirles que nos vuelvan a considerar sobre el Parklet. El Parklet es algo muy importante para nuestro negocio, no nada más por lo que ya invertimos en ello, sino por lo que va a venir. El Parklet es muy importante para poder salvar mi negocio. Eso es algo por lo que hemos estado luchando por todo este tiempo. Son 5 años de negocio en los cuales no nos hemos podido recuperar en medio de una pandemia y una recesión. Hemos tratado de hacerlo lo mejor posible siguiendo todos los estándares que nos han pedido para poder trabajar en ese Parklet. Incluso todavía estamos dispuestos a regular lo que se necesite hacer para poder continuar. Simplemente queremos saber si la ciudad está interesada en ayudarnos y continuar y así nosotros trabajar con los otros negocios también. No estoy interesada en quitar ningún negocio del camino. Quiero que todos seamos exitosos y que Downtown se convierta en un lugar bonito para que la gente pueda venir y tenga diferentes opciones que hacer. Un restaurante mexicano, un restaurante americano, de todo tipo de comida que se pudiera ver, estuviera perfecto. Pero para eso necesitamos quedarnos también nosotros. Igual que los demás también necesitan estar ahí, nosotros también lo necesitamos. I'm sorry. Solamente les quiero, en verdad, dar las gracias por recibirnos y atendernos a todos. Somos muchos hoy. Espero y reconsideren todo lo que han dicho. Gracias.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Evelyn Hudson, Sammy Trujillo, Albert Moran. That's the next 3. If you could all please be up front.
So I'm here also in favor of the Parklet. I was a little bit concerned when I was watching the December 11th meeting. I wasn't sure why we were addressing a traffic issue with certain businesses around the area. I question how many accidents have actually been a result of the Parklet being placed there. Because wouldn't it be fair to say that they have to, she would have to follow code, and it would have to be something that would be approved prior to her putting up the Parklet, correct? So that was something that should have been taken into consideration originally. You know, the Parklet is in place, and asking her to tear it down while you guys decide whether or not you guys want to implement a parking or a Parklet program is unfair because she already put out that money, and you're asking her to do it a second time. And she did it during one of the worst times in our recent history. And honestly, as a citizen of Gilroy, and I too was born and raised here, I raised my kids here, during the pandemic, that was a place that I needed to be. I needed that socialization because there was a lot of loss. And personally, I incurred a lot of loss during that time period. And so having a parklet like that in place is important. COVID, although the state of emergency has been lifted, it's not gone. It's still here. We're still dealing with this, and our businesses are still dealing with the ramifications of COVID and the pandemic and what it's actually done to our economy. So therefore, I do believe that it is unfair to allow one and not the other, and I do know that there are considerations that have to be, put in place first, but I do think that we should consider all businesses and the cost to all businesses. So just as Tempo's owner...
I'm sorry, time is up. Thank you, though. All right. Sammy Trujillo, followed by Albert Moran.
Thank you, council members. My name is Sammy Trujillo, organizer for District Council 16. I did 16 years of organizing there, and I represented the painters, tapers, floor covering, and glazing. Still a current member. I have been a customer for Tempo and Station 55. Last time I was here was in August. I was a representative for Station 55. And Station 55 that I had gotten a 6-1 vote in favor of parklets. So I'm a little disappointed on this December's meeting vote count. And I need to make it clear that at that time, there was going to be a parklet program put together and thought that maybe you guys needed a little bit more time. Well, the recommendation from the planning department recommended until the middle of 2024. So I was hoping that you guys would adopt that. That's a key element to put out a good parklet program for all. Businesses thrive on that. Like the gentleman before said, we need to be a council that's going to promote businesses and not hurt businesses. And that's a key element that I'm asking every one of you council members to do, along with everybody that's watching this video that goes out, that they're paying attention, that it's up to you guys to serve us as our community needs a better downtown and more diverse area, and that's what we need. We need people to be able to take their dogs, enjoy the outdoor dining, and have that.
Time. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Albert Moran, followed by, is it Tark?
Good evening, Council. I'm Albert Moran.
Yes.
I just want to speak on behalf of Station 55, and as a customer and patron of Station 55, I want to say that al fresco dining and the experience has brought us, community and family, together when the weather permits. Not only is it the very few places that we can take our family dog and be outdoors and enjoy an al fresco dining experience, because there's not that many. And we want more. We want to see Gilroy thrive. We want to spend and keep our tax dollars here. We want to enjoy, what Gilroy has to offer. They do have an outdoor dining around the perimeter of the building, but I do not want to eat next to the garbage bins with flies, pestering and bothering me while I'm dining. I want to have a nice environment to enjoy, and I think Station 55 and their parklet brings that to the community. And I think you've heard that from everyone else behind me, that we need to have more of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Tark M. Fox. Tarke is what I have. Okay. Okay, and then Mike, again, if you could please come to the front row so that... So followed by Mike Mounte and then Robert Cepeda.
Hello. We've lived here about 43 years and try to hit all the establishments to keep everybody in business and all that sort of thing. And when I first heard you wanted to tear the place down, I couldn't understand your thought process. And the first thing I thought of was due to all the injuries I've had and the amount of medication I've had to take. Sometimes so many pills take a step and rattle. I thought of it's like a punishment to people with injuries, the elderly folks, and especially the handicapped people. Unlike the other establishment with the patio built out close to the street, Station 55 isn't ground level. So you either have to climb steps, or if you're in a wheelchair and it isn't powered, get somebody to roll you up the ramp. That doesn't seem practical to me. So I just couldn't understand your thought process, and I thought I might say a little something about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mike Monte.
Hi, my name's Mike Montoy, and I'm a retired San Jose firefighter for 29 years. And I thank you for your time. I'm here on behalf of Station 55, Parklet. And I want to say that I've gone to many homes where people are sick. They have many issues, and I have treated many of them. And a parklet allows us to make a choice whether we want to go into a place that's crowded, okay, where the air is being recycled, or it's open outside, okay? And I choose to be outside because I don't want to get contaminated, okay? And in Santa Clara County, okay, on the latest January 5th, 2024, okay, update, there have been almost 3,000 people that have died from COVID-19. In the last 90 days, 149 have contracted the disease. So if you think that this epidemic is over, okay, you are wrong. And people need to know that this epidemic exists, and parklets are absolutely necessary for people to be able to make a choice where they want to be contaminated by other people who aren't wearing masks, okay, who are sick, okay, and are exposing other people, okay. You have a choice. Do you want to keep people from contracting this disease and spreading it, or helping them to keep themselves and their families healthy and safe? Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Cepeda, followed by Andrea Hightower.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and community. I come here today to discuss a different topic that everyone else is talking, except for the first gentleman that was regarding water. And I'm sure you are aware that recently the state has approved for sewer water to be in tap water. And this is the same case for Santa Clara County, which does involve us, unfortunately. They treat us as, you know, just the rug on the mat compared to Silicon Valley. But this is a much bigger issue in the way that it has to do with climate change. You know, here's according to the Gilroy, the opinion piece, January 3rd. Climate change is a global crisis demanding local leadership. Now, I believe in climate change. I believe it changes 4 times a year: winter, spring, summer, and fall. And the whole nonsense about the fossil fuels and all this other stuff. First, electric cars are made with fossil fuels. Solar panels are made with fossil fuels, and wind turbines are made with fossil fuels. So I don't know how that's going to. It's all it's all hypocrisy, especially all these world leaders, you know, John Kerry and Al Gore, that scream to the high heavens, and yet they're flying around everywhere in their big jumbo jets, have bigger carbon footprint than any of us combined. So for us to drink tap water, all I'm going to say is you're going to see cases of E. coli just skyrocket. Because, I mean, and I do recommend everyone to get water filters because you're going to need it. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Andrea Hightower, followed by Anna Mendez, and then Anna Mendoza.
Andrea Hightower, I'm here to speak on behalf in favor of the Station 55 parklet. Our small businesses here in Gilroy deserve our support, and to have a small business build up a parklet, break it down just to rebuild it again, and cost tens of thousands of dollars when it costs the city nothing to extend the policy is actually outside of the vision of Gilroy, the 2030 vision. I'm also the mother of a disabled child. Our options of where we can take her are very limited, and these parklets gives us more options. So by forcing them to take their parklet down, you're taking away an opportunity for her to sit outside and feel like she's part of the community, which is also opposite of the 2030 Plan Principle 10, to have more ADA compliance, more ADA accessibility. So I encourage you to re-agendize the policy for the parklets and extend it now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Oh. Did somebody go off the list?
Yes, because it was
Okay, so Anna Mendoza is next, and then is that the last?
That's the last one.
Okay.
Hi, good evening, everyone here, council members. As Gilroy community member, business owners, and patrons have come here and speak to you guys about how important it is for us to have Station 55 parklets be left out. I have this all written down, but I always like to talk from the heart. So everybody here is supporting Station 55. And one of the things is we have said, please treat people the same way, equally. Don't discriminate. So a lot of people say that I use the word discriminating a lot. Discriminating means not to treat somebody equally. How can our board members made a decision when the owner of Station 55 had her baby, open heart surgery, couldn't attend the meetings, couldn't advocate for her place? So we asked for you guys to please touch your heart. Think about, what if this was your business? What will you do? What if your life, your business was the support of your family? What if that business was helping you pay for your child's medical bills? What will you do? Will you make the same decisions? How sad it is that Morgan Hill has more open spaces for their community. They support their community members, the people that live here. Remember, November, it's coming up, and you guys are going to be looking for our elections to vote for you guys. What are you doing for us? What are you doing for our community? Think before you vote. Read, investigate before you do. We put you there. Our taxes pay your bills. So please, allow our tax money to come back to us. Represent us the right way.
Thank you. Okay, any other speakers?
I have no other speaker cards, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so closing item 3.1, and that brings us to item 4, which is reports of council members. Councilmember Bracco.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Armendariz.
No reports.
Councilmember Marks.
No report.
All right, Councilmember Hilton is absent. Councilmember Klein.
No reports.
Councilmember Tovar.
No report.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Well, we had a meeting with SCRA Board and the Santa Clara Valley Joint Water Resources Committee, and it was mostly about recycled water and trying to get more weight. All of the water that comes into SCRA during the summertime is fully recycled. But of course, in the wintertime, there's not so much a demand. So trying to work with Valley Water to figure out how we can harness some of that and make it recycled water, or increase our recycled water output in the summer from water that comes in the winter. Gilroy Sister Cities, next week we're going to be visited by the mayor, well, not the mayor, but the representatives from the Sister Cities of Takamachi. So just wanted to share that. Those are the only meetings that I had. since our last meeting. Okay, under council correspondence, we have none. Future council-initiated items? Looking to see any? Yes?
Yes. So, given the public outcry, given what's happening, and the voice of our community asking us for this, I'd like to ask that we re-agendize the issue of the parklets, in particular the parklet at Station 55.
Okay, that is something that the council can vote on. I would like to point out that at our last meeting, when we directed staff to come back with information on talking to businesses, that is, in fact, going to come back at our very next meeting. So it will be on the agenda already.
But meanwhile, though, the Station 55 has received a notice to demolish their parklet. So
no, they are receiving a notice that gives them 30 days, so they have until mid-February, so they will know first.
They will be receiving that notice?
Meeting. Jimmy, do you want to speak to that? Oh, okay. So they will end up having until February. They will have until after the January 22nd meeting. So this will be on the January 22nd meeting, and there will not be anything to demolish before then.
Okay. All right. Oh, that's on the record then now.
Go ahead. You want to speak to that?
I want to make sure it's on the record.
Yes, the initial letter that they received was a 10-day notice that they did not comply. If they do not comply within that 10 days that the letter was sent, they will receive a 30-day notice that the city will tear it down at the end of 30 days. So they should get that receipt as soon as the 10 days is expired.
So the notice was dated January 12th, and so from January 12th on, they will have an additional 30 days.
Yes.
And meanwhile, it will be agendized for January 22nd.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
Okay, great. Okay, so that brings us to the consent calendar. Are there any items on consent that anybody wants to remove? Okay, opening public comment.
I have 5 speaker cards here, Madam Mayor. And it's for 7.4, so if you just wanted to click on that one, I can.
Okay. I wonder if, okay, let me click on 7.4.
The first speaker is going to be Brianna Diebold, followed by Cassandra Huerta, followed by Elizabeth Hoiberg.
Okay, so the item so nothing has been pulled from consent. If those who want to speak still want to speak, that's fine, but nothing has been pulled. So if you would like to how should we do this? Should they let you know if?
We can have.
Or I'll just call your name
yes.
and don't come up. Come up if you still want to speak. Brianna Diebold, Cassandra Huerta, Elizabeth Hoiberg, Tiffany Brooks, Ana Cifuentes. Okay, so I'll assume we can just take a motion then for the consent count, right? Does somebody still want to speak?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Oh, apologies.
You can still speak on items that are not pulled.
You are welcome to still, if you are here and you would like to say something before the council, this is the time to do it. I just didn't know if some people were here wanting to speak if something was pulled from the consent calendar. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Okay. Motion made by Councilmember Bracco, seconded by Councilmember Klein. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Armendariz?
Yes.
Councilmember Bracco?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Marks?
Yes.
Councilmember Tovar?
Yes.
And Mayor Blinkley.
Yes. Passed unanimously. Okay. Item 8, bids and proposals, none. Item 9, public hearings, none. Item 10, annual appointments to city boards, commissions, and committees with seats vacant or expired as of December 31, 2023. Okay. There's no, I'm sorry, is there? Oh, go ahead, help her out. Okay. Is there any kind of report that goes on with this, or do I just start?
No staff report on this,
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
All right, council members, we have applicants for certain seats on commissions, some of whom interviewed, some of whom did not.
But Madam Mayor?
Yes.
May I request that we do take public comment on this?
Oh, should we do that first?
Yes.
Okay. Opening public comment. Do we have any public comment on this agenda item?
I received no speaker cards on this, Madam Mayor.
Okay, closing public comment. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so I'm going to go down. I'm just going to call us all alphabetically and ask for your vote, knowing that you do not have to vote for anyone. This is something that each council member should be taking into their own consideration and doing the best that they can with candidates that they feel are assets or would be assets to the commissions. And hopefully everyone feels free and comfortable to voice their own opinion without fear of being criticized for what they think. Okay? So I'm going to start with Arts and Culture Commission, where we have one seat expiring December 31 of 2025 and another seat expiring December 31 of 2024. We had 2 applicants. So I hope you have in front of you who those applicants are. And I'm going to ask Councilmember Armendariz, do you have a choice for the seat expiring 12/31/25?
Amy.
Okay. And this you can only choose one here. It is for the seat expiring 12/31/25. Councilmember Bracco.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'm not going to make any selections for, I'm just going to do the Planning Commission and the Youth Commission.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's good to appoint people when they're the only one that applied.
Okay.
I think we ought to go back
Okay.
out.
I may still ask you again as we go.
Okay.
So you're nothing on this one. Okay. Councilmember Klein.
Amy Hufford.
Okay. Hilton is absent. Councilmember Marks.
Amy Hufford.
Okay. Councilmember Tovar.
Amy.
Okay, and I'll go with Amy, so she has enough votes to get that seat. I guess I need to ask about the 12/31/24. Councilmember Armendariz?
Yeah, Miriam is fine.
Okay, Councilmember Bracco is none. Councilmember Klein?
None.
Councilmember Hilton is absent. Councilmember Marks?
None.
Councilmember Tovar?
None.
And I am none too, so that one does not get appointed. Okay. Ty, stop me if I go too fast. Okay. A Library Commission, we have 2 applicants, one seat expiring 12/31/27 and another one expiring 12/31/26. Yes. Okay, so for the seat expiring 12/31/27, Councilmember Armendariz.
Carla.
Councilmember Bracco.
None.
Councilmember Klein.
None.
Councilmember Hilton is absent. Councilmember Marks.
None.
Councilmember Tovar.
Carla.
Okay, and I'm none, so that one does not make it. Okay, and for the seat expiring 12/31/26, Councilmember Armendariz.
I would go with Miriam.
Councilmember Bracco.
No choice.
Councilmember Klein.
No choice.
Councilmember Hilton's absent. Councilmember Marks.
None.
Councilmember Tovar.
None.
And I'm none, so that one also does not. All right, Parks and Recreation Commission. We have 2 applicants for 3 seats that expire 12/31/27. So with the 2 applicants, I will ask to vote for 2, or up to 2. Councilmember Armendariz?
Let's say Mr. Bozo and Teresa Graham.
Okay, Bozo.
Bozo. Thank
He'll
you.
say Bozzo.
No, I always
It's Bozo.
get
Yeah.
it
Okay.
wrong, yeah.
Councilmember Bracco?
No choice.
No choice for Parks and Rec?
That's what he said.
Okay, that's what he said, yeah. Councilmember Klein?
Salvatore Bozzo and Teresa Graham.
Okay. Councilmember Hilton is absent. Councilmember Marks?
Salvatore Bozo and Teresa Graham.
Councilmember Tovar?
Bozo and Graham.
Okay. And I am Bozo and Graham, so each of them is appointed to the seats expiring 12/31/27. And therefore, there is no need to vote for, we don't have any applicants for the 12/31/25 seat, right? Okay.
That's correct, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so that's now Planning Commission. Okay, now this one we have 2 seats expiring 12/31/27. So I'm going to ask you to vote for 2 when I call your name.
Up to 2.
Up to 2, sure. If you only want 1, yes, up to 2. Okay, Councilmember Armendariz.
Stephanie Alley and Monica Valdez.
Okay, Councilmember Bracco.
Stephanie and Terrence?
All right, Councilmember Klein.
Terrence and Monica.
Hilton is absent. Councilmember Marks.
Stephanie and Terrence.
Councilmember Tovar.
Stephanie and Monica.
Okay, so Stephanie already has 4 votes, so I'll do Stephanie and Monica. And that makes, I was going to vote for Monica anyway, and so I'm just going on, Hang on, how would that have?
So only Stephanie gets appointed since we have a 3-3 tie for.
No,
we have 4.
We have
4?
4 for Monica
Okay,
and 5 for Stephanie.
got it. Okay.
And let me just make sure I got it right. So for Terrence, it was Bracco, Klein, and Marks, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And, right, so Stephanie got, you got that tie?
Yes, Madam
Got-
Mayor. I have
okay,
4
Ramirez
votes
Bracco.
for
Right.
incumbent Commissioner Kelly, and I also have 4 votes for Monica Valdez.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
So those are the 2. And now for open government, there was 1 applicant for a seat that expires this year. Councilmember Armendariz.
Anne Marie.
Councilmember Bracco. Councilmember Klein.
Anne Marie.
Hilton is absent. Councilmember Marks.
No choice.
Councilmember Tovar.
Anne Marie.
And I am no choice. So that's 3-3, so that fails, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Youth Commission. All right, this one is choose up to 3. Seat terms expiring 9/30/25. Okay, Councilmember Armendariz.
Oh my gosh, I didn't bring my notes. Let's do, I feel terrible. I didn't bring my notes with me.
You don't have to vote for anyone then.
No, but, no. Yeah, I'm going to have to abstain.
Okay.
I didn't bring my
Councilmember Bracco.
Gianna
Okay.
Garcia.
Uh-huh.
Laura.
Sorry?
Zara, you said. Byra?
Who was this?
Number 4.
Oh, yes, okay.
Zara.
I got Gianna, I got Byra, okay.
Emily.
Emily. Okay. Councilmember Klein.
Emily, Baru, and Zara.
And Zara. Okay. Councilmember Hilton's absent. Councilmember Marks.
All right, Emily, Gianna, and Zara.
Gianna and Zara. Okay. Councilmember Tovar.
Emily, Gianna, and Baru.
Okay. And I'm Emily, Baru, and Gianna. So, the 3 people that got at least 4 votes are Emily, Baru, and Gianna, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so those are the 3 appointees to the Youth Commission. That concludes, correct?
That concludes it.
Okay, thank you to everybody who applied, whether you're here, whether you're at home. Very, very, very much appreciated. All right, that brings us to the next agenda item, which is 11.1, City of Gilroy Donation and Fundraising Policy. Bryce Atkins will give us this report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So to provide a little bit of background information, to assist the city and its commissions to fundraise, a donation fundraising policy is needed. This is primarily done through the Arts and Culture Commission, the Parks and Recreation Commission. Arts and Culture Commission have the fundraising. Is there right on the screen? Arts and Culture Commission has a provision in the city charter where they are to fundraise as part of their authorized duties. Parks and Recreation Commission has had interest in it. And then the other commission, well, do you want me to start again? Were you able to hear as I spoke before?
Start over.
Sure. So assisting the city and its commissions to fundraise, donation policy is required. This primarily benefits Arts and Culture Commission, who has it in the charter to actually have the function of fundraising for an arts and culture program for the city, and the Parks and Recreation Commission as well has expressed interest. It also could potentially benefit other commissions in the city overall. So in your agenda packet, and tonight we're discussing the draft policy. It's crafted from a review of other cities and their policies, and then modified as needed for Gilroy. It's been reviewed by the Finance Department and the City Attorney's Office. And the draft version that you're being presented tonight has also been reviewed by the Arts and Culture Commission and the Parks and Recreation Commission, both issuing recommendations to the Council to adopt the policy. So the provisions of the policy identifies requirements for accepting donations. Some of these include donations being consistent with city goals and objectives, and must not conflict with law. It does not provide any restrictions except those pre-approved by the city. Appropriate recognition and acceptance based on the value of the donation, and compliance with the Public Records Act. It also outlines the procedures for accepting donations and details information required to document the donation, issuance of a receipt, and appropriate reporting based on the level of the donation. Okay. Next slide. The policy also discusses the need and requirements for fundraising programs, which must be approved and include both the goal and sponsorship, donation, and fundraising activities, identify the target audience and the method of outreach they're going to use, and procedure for acceptance and reporting of activities, and working to ensure internal controls. It contains information about sponsorship agreements and naming rights, lists costs, accounting, and record-keeping requirements for city staff to follow, and then discusses special considerations for real property and public works, works of art. Public works of art. Also includes some miscellaneous provisions and disclaimers, including that the city assumes no requirement for upkeep of materials donated, not guaranteeing the tax deductibility of a particular donation, and that city employees with enforcement or regulatory authority, such as police officers, firefighters, inspectors, and code enforcement officers, may not solicit donations in uniform. Alternatives Council may provide direction to modify the draft policy. There's no fiscal impact for this particular agenda item. Fundraising will generate, and it's anticipated to generate revenues, with any potential costs for the fundraising effort to be absorbed within existing budget appropriations. So staff's recommendations for council to review and provide direction regarding the draft donation policy. And the next steps, based on that direction, staff will bring back the change policy for the next council meeting for adoption. And that completes the presentation. Happy to address any questions or comments.
Thank you, Bryce. Okay, I'll start with questions from council before going to public comment. If I should see you on the screen. I don't.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't see anybody on the screen. You want to speak? Okay. Question?
Bryce, thank you for this. Obviously, when it's come back, when you bring it back, but if this were to move forward, any donations that we receive, when will council be notified of those donations? That, is it something that's going to be quarterly? I mean,
that's if council was to put in a provision about reporting in a frequency, we could do that. It's we could do it either a seasonal basis, or like quarterly or annual, or as donations are received. It's whatever council's preferences for the policy.
I've got a suggestion for that
please.
too in
Okay.
my questions. But go ahead and finish your questions,
no,
because then
I
I've
mean, that
got
was it,
several
but I
in the
think
whole
you're
thing.
gonna-
That's
yeah.
just one of them.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Councilmember Bracco.
Bryce, can you give me an example, like what kind of donations are we talking about?
It could be anything, small donations to, say, a park, somebody wanting to donate for a park improvement or a dog park amenity. Could be donations for a program, like at recreational programs. I could see receiving some of those. You could have donations of public art that they may want to install out in the area. The Arts and Culture Commission is going to actually be coming forward. They're already identifying things they want to do fundraising for to create public art out in the community. They're also looking at a cultural community event that they may want to have fundraising for. So it could be any governmental purpose.
So like a mural or
it could be a mural.
Something like that?
Yep, it could be a piece of equipment.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public wanting to speak on this?
I received no speaker cards on this matter.
Okay. So closing public comment. And yeah, I had a lot of the same questions you guys had. I was like, where does and you can't watch. These are the commission meetings to where this was presented. You can't watch because they're not videotaped. So we couldn't do some of this on our own. But the city charter, like our staff report says, tasks the Art and Culture Commission with fundraising. And so we didn't really have a policy in place that the city could actually follow. So I'm going to go through some of the things that I would like to see if this council wants to support in coming back, that to me make it more clear, and then circle back to the very beginning of the policy. The first one, for those of you who have the policy in front of you, item 1I,
where it says all donations will receive recognition appropriate to the level and nature of the donation as determined by the city. I think that should have reference to what are the amounts that we're talking about, and then that's going to get to what you're saying. So if you look at item 2B, it tells you, it differentiates between donations under $5,000, and then C is donations of $5,000 or more. Under $5,000 just goes through city administrator and finance department, all that stuff. $5,000 or more comes to city council. So I think that there should be a tie-in to that section, to 2B and C in item I. It should reference that what we're talking about, all donations that receive recognition appropriate to, based on, or as indicated, or however the city wants to write it. Is that majority supported? To put that in?
Sounds fine.
Okay. Then on council member, it was on item 4, which is the page 121 of our packet, under costs, accounting, and record keeping. I think we should add an item. That currently says, department shall report any donations or sponsorships accepted, received by the department through reports to the city administrator's office and the finance department. I think there we should also have something that says, that addresses when it should be reported to the city council. My suggestion would be if it's $5,000 or more, it gets reported to city council each time, not seasonal, not monthly, just when there is something of $5,000 or more that comes to us. Okay? Okay, so I would
Even
change.
if it's like a piece of art that is self-valued, that amount I think is still be appropriate, right? Somebody attaches a value to it themselves. You know, because art is so like subjective.
If it's $5,000.
Is that okay? Okay, yeah. I don't know anything about how you value art, so okay. Okay. Okay, so those two things, I think there's majority support to change. And then I'm wondering if, hang on, I thought there was one other thing. I just want to make sure I didn't forget it. Under sponsorship agreements, we're going to tie that to the same dollar amounts, correct? We said that, yeah. Right, again, under 5,000, city administrator, over comes to us. And then, okay, under works of art, that was it. I knew I had something else. Under works of art, that paragraph should say, fourth sentence down, where it says, which shall include the review and recommendation of the city's Arts and Culture Commission. We should insert to the city council, the recommendation to the city council, not their recommendation to the city administrator, for example. Okay, yeah, so that that always comes through, so we don't have, issues of things that didn't get public opportunity at both levels, right? At both levels. Okay, so if that's good, we put that in there. And then under item 7, I personally think that it should say, in addition to city staff, it says city staff shall maintain the highest standard of ethics, that it should say, we have no authority over it, but city staff, elected officials, and appointees shall maintain the highest standard of ethics in fundraising activities. Because sometimes it could be a council member that might be trying to fundraise, even though maybe you're not supposed to be, like city employees aren't supposed to be doing it in uniform, maybe we're not supposed to be doing it with a council member hat on, but sometimes that distinction gets confusing and people neglect. So I would insert that in there too. Okay, those are all good. Then the last thing I would ask the council to consider is at the very beginning where it says the purpose of this policy, which kind of gets to Councilmember Bracco's question in the beginning, like why are we doing this, where is it coming from? Well, because this is something that the Arts and Culture Commission is really needing, that's how this started, and also Parks and Rec might use it too, that last line shouldn't be so broad. It should say, this policy is meant to formalize the process of receiving donations and how to fundraise as may be commenced by the city or the Arts and Culture Commission or the Parks and Rec Commission, instead of applying to absolutely every possible appointee. Would that be okay? That's what we're supposed to, yes, that's what I'm saying. Okay, yes. Do I have a fourth?
I do have
Yes.
something to add, though.
Okay.
And I know we haven't finished this process yet, but
Yeah, this is going to come back.
Okay, do we know when it's going to come back?
No.
The goal is to.
But we're not approving anything tonight, is the
Right.
point. We're just giving
No, but I
direction.
need
So the item is anticipated to come back to the next council meeting with
To the
the
very
changes
next
made.
one?
Correct.
Okay, just because we're in the process of creating our DEI policies, and so I'd like we should have language included that that donations of things like art and stuff like that need to comply with our DEI policy, even though we don't have it yet. But will we have to go backwards once we have one to include it? To include that language, or is it a given? Like, how
Well,
will
I
that
would
work?
hope it's a given, but I think you're talking about public art.
Mhm.
The city has a separate public art policy, and so we could include it in that when we review that policy. But I couldn't really say if it needs to be here or it doesn't.
Yeah, because if they're like monetary donations, it doesn't apply, right? But
Because we
but
would
art
not
and other
accept,
stuff.
we actually cannot accept a donation or anything from a group that does practice discrimination or
Mhm.
prejudice. So that's already in our process.
So Rebecca, this would come under item 2, right? Works of art, that's what you're talking about?
Right.
And it says, if a contribution is proposed related to a work of public art covered by a contribution, that's not, well, a contribution could be a work of art itself.
Mhm.
Right. Covered by the city's public art policy, so it has to be covered. Is it covered or is it not covered?
It is not specifically referenced as the DEI, program in
No.
that because we don't have one yet.
Because we don't have it yet.
But that's where it will be referenced,
Yes.
is in the public art policy.
Okay. So then it should fall under that, and we'll be okay.
I think so.
All right.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, then. We're good? All right. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to 11.2, City Council Downtown Committee, Part 1, Subcommittee Reports and Recommendations, Plywood Removal and Vacancy Ordinances. Staff report is the Gilroy Downtown Committee, which I guess is Councilmember Marks. Okay.
Councilmember Marks, the mic should be working right now.
Can you check that mic to see if
You just need to turn it on.
All right. The Downtown Standing Committee was formed May 1st, 2023. It is made up of 15 members consisting of 5 council members, building owners, and business owners. Its purpose is to deal with issues in our downtown area between 1st and 10th Streets, which would make our downtown a more attractive place where businesses want to come and people want to shop and dine. 5 subcommittees were formed: plywood removal, vacancy ordinance, beautification of downtown, noise ordinance, and code enforcement. 2 subcommittees are presenting tonight. One of the topics that the committee wanted to address was plywood removal. It is understandable when a building is under construction and the front of the building has to be removed, that plywood would be used to protect the inside of the building. Unfortunately, for some building owners, plywood has become a permanent front for some of our downtown buildings. Before writing this proposed ordinance, this subcommittee contacted the following cities to see how they handled this problem. We contacted Redwood City, Livermore, Salinas, San Jose, Sacramento, Santa Cruz, Morgan Hill, Paso Robles, Fresno, and Gilroy. Most of the cities we spoke with said they did not have a problem with plywood-fronted stores because it was not allowed in their city. We discovered that Gilroy does have an ordinance that addresses vacant building storefronts, but it is not being enforced currently. In writing the proposed ordinance, we incorporated much of Gilroy's existing ordinance into the new proposed one. I'll turn this over to Jeannie, who will tell you about the proposal.
Thank you, Carol.
There we go. So the actual ordinance is 5D7, window displays and plywood storefronts that are not occupied or not occupied for 90 days. We did review the current policy that Gilroy had in place for this.
And we also identified and looked at potential improvements that we can add to it. One of the things that Carol mentioned earlier was the point of code enforcement, and that was something that we did add to the existing policy that we would like it to be added to, that we need code enforcement to, of course, enforce this ordinance. And what was in there was also the officer would be sending out certified letters to the responsible owners or people for that storefront. The existing, we didn't change a whole lot, but in the existing ordinance, A through C, and just to give you a brief overview and for the residents of Gilroy, that the faux windows and dressing containing goods and services with a visual characteristic would be something vibrant. They can use, background panels, other methods of screens in that space, whatever is viewing towards the street, so that can be viewed. So it's not just paper and other things up. That there would be, B would be some type of works of art that would be cultural, historical, educational, and value, some type of background panels that also is facing with that. We talked about this wanting some examples that people can see. So our community department would provide those examples. Dave will talk a little more on some of that of what we are recommending. We also had different examples from other cities and what they currently use in those spaces. Section D is one area that we did add, that no drywall, sheeting plastic, butcher paper, plain paper, or other raw coverings are strictly prohibited. All window openings, doors, facades, and awnings, etc., must be finished in appearance or in compliance with one of the above in going through. So at least it looks presentable for downtown, especially I know in the future moving forward with the sharks coming and we start having more and more people coming to our downtown to be presentable, and maybe people will want to spend or purchase one of our buildings and looking at that. So I'm going to transition to Dave now, and he will give a little more examples that we talked about. Thank you.
So one of the items is for the plywood utilizations. What we're requesting is if the building facade needs to be removed, plywood may be utilized within 90 days of the installation. Plywood must be decorated following the above criteria, as what Jeannie said. If not, the building owner will be fined $500 per month, which will be placed on their property tax bill until they fix their issue. The temporary front needs to be removed after 1 year of being up. No additional permits will be approved until the active permit is complete. The temporary front is removed, and all fines are paid. Once that happens, we'll go ahead and after that, the building owner is subject. After the 1 year, the building owner is subject to the fines of $250 per month, which will appear also on their property tax bill. If there are circumstances why the temporary front has not met this deadline, the building owner will be asked the Community Development Department to grant another year extension. Decorative artwork and mural proposals designs should be respectful, appropriate for all ages in the community. There's a couple examples. Is it on here? Mm-hmm. These are a couple examples that we found in some other towns that they put on the front of their windows to display a vacant building, and just kind of something that, this is another building downtown that we had put some artwork on the front. This was really geared towards marketing the building. Had a website on it and so forth, and that seemed to work out good. The building is now has been leased, and it was something other than the plywood or the paper, and it was something that I just thought would be a good start to do something downtown. Also at the bowling alley, I don't think it's on there. We had the bowling alley, the same thing. We put the plywood up when we started working on the front, and we did some artwork on the front of it just to make it look a little bit nicer downtown. And the whole purpose is basically to, if someone comes to our town, to be able to see something that is more vibrant. It just looks better, and You know, we all know
Was it much more expensive?
it's not cheap. Yeah, it's a cost that I felt was worth it. It worked on the Garlic City building, and I was able to lease the building. The bowling alley, you know, obviously you got a lot of great reviews, and just something to kind of stimulate what's going on downtown and give a little more energy to everyone down there. And the plywood removal is just basically, and to clean it up, just so when people come through town, they understand that we are trying. You know, if you see signs like this, at least we're trying. If it's just plywood and for lease signs, it's very discouraging as someone coming into town. So we're just trying to better our downtown. This is why this group was put together, and we're hoping that we're going in the right direction. And it seems like the downtown's getting better, and this is what we're thriving to do. And if a little bit of help, and most storefronts are not that big, so the cost is not that bad, and we could always work with people and to try to make it a little bit easier on their budget, because and it just, the bottom line is it benefits everyone, even building owners that have the empty buildings and the facades look nicer, their values go up, and it makes it a better environment for everyone downtown.
I think like your comment, Rebecca, with the Gilroy City Bowl, that, you know, that was a larger building that Dave had. Some are not as large, but there's areas where, just like, you know, we've had with the Downtown Business Association, where local artists and even students bringing in and having them be able to paint. So there's a lot of different ways that can go about where it doesn't have to be a huge cost for that. And we want to know that we share that we are willing to work with the owners, not just like to carry, you know, this isn't to be a stick, this is to be a joint effort, and just to work with us and what are your challenges in moving forward. So we want you open and moving as fast as we can as well. So we just want to share that most of the ordinance is the same. It's just really adding the code enforcement team and as well as some examples of actual decorative art and paint with that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to reiterate, we have art students in town that would be very willing from the high schools, Gavilan College, to put up artwork in any of the buildings. Plus, we have muralists that have volunteered their time for free, paint included, to just paint something on the front. So for someone who does have a problem with cost, there are avenues. We just want everything looking very nice. Currently, we have 2 buildings in our downtown that have plywood up. They're right now not complying with anything that we have in our ordinance or even in the city's existing ordinance. One building has had plywood up for 5 years, and the other one has had it up for 3 years with no movement. We do not consider, as Jeannie said, this ordinance to be a stick to any of our businesses. All we are asking is, while the building is under construction, to please have artwork in the windows, and if plywood is up, please decorate it. As we mentioned earlier, the building owner has up to 1 year to remove the decorated plywood, but we encourage plywood to be removed as soon as possible. We want our downtown to be as aesthetically pleasing as it can. We are asking for the council to discuss what has been proposed and hopefully move it through the proper channels for the adoption of an updated window display and plywood ordinance. Thank you.
Do you want us to talk about this one before the vacancy? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Are you going to come back? Or are you going to,
Yeah, I have a question too.
Okay, yes. So I'll go down the line because I'm not seeing any speakers on here. So Councilmember Bracco.
Councilmember Marks, how does it affect if it's boarded up and there's no construction going on versus if it's boarded up and there's construction going on?
Those are the buildings that we are trying hard to target to get something moving. If they have plywood up, like I said, we have 2 buildings. There we go. We have 2 buildings currently in our downtown area that fit that category. The building owner has to comply with the new ordinance if this gets passed, where he or she needs to decorate that plywood. And if the building is just empty, we have quite a few empty buildings downtown, they need to get artwork up and make it very attractive. So it's going to take some work. Code enforcement's going to have to really... Go ahead, Jeannie, you want to talk?
That's where we talked about having code enforcement behind this, where before there really wasn't. So first it starts with a letter and then the follow-up and so forth. My parents have a building downtown that they had purchased in the 60s, and they had to apply to this ordinance at one point when they had a vacancy. And of course, they didn't have to tear down their front, but they had to do decorative in their window front part of it and coming through. And this is some of the things we want the business owners to come with us to share with their challenges. You know, what is your situation with your permit? I think what Carol was after is we just don't want, if someone purchases a building, please don't rip down the storefront and you haven't planned budget-wise or with, you know, and then their permit expires, and now we got plywood up forever. So it's trying to get them to, you know, work with the city of Gilroy a little more as in really what their plans. So maybe when they submit for their permits, really what is their project ahead of time moving forward. And I know Dave can speak to, you know, Gilroy Bowl, where he did have to tear down his storefront. And Dave, how long did you have your plywood up approximately? For about 5 months that he had. So that's kind of our goal and how we can work together in the hopes with this to kind of move it along. And, you know, if they need longer than the time that we're asking, then they need to share with us what those needs are.
Councilmember Armendariz, you had a question?
Thank you. When does the clock start? Because I mean, like our committee members said, like if a building owner could show that they're trying, like they put some effort into it, it's not going to cost a lot for them to do something other than plywood. There's free muralists, free artists, there's students. There's a lot of room for creativity and like and ingenuity there, right? For somebody, if somebody can demonstrate that they're trying. So I'm just wondering where the clock starts, and if also you say that there's 2 buildings with plywood. Does that include 1st through 4th Street and 7th through 10th, or just like the center
It's
of downtown?
Monterey Street. It's first, the 2 buildings that we're talking about are between 4th and 7th.
Okay. And have you assessed the others, though, from 7th to 10th?
No, we did not go down there and look, but they would also be included because they're part of our downtown 1st and 10th.
Yeah, because I think you'd find a few more.
Yeah. When you said about the date, what I would envision, the council giving direction tonight, and then if the direction is for staff to write it up as an ordinance, then it comes back to council, and then we vote on it, and then I believe it takes 30 days to actually become official. Is that right, Jimmy? And then at the 30-day mark, code enforcement, if it passes, code enforcement would write the letter to these building owners, and code enforcement would have to go downtown and pick out all the buildings that would fall into this category, and then they would have 90 days to get artwork to comply. And then if they have a situation, they can come to community development, talk to them about it, get an extension. But if it's just up for the sake of being up, as we have right now, no, that's not okay. So, and if they don't comply, then we put the fines in, because it is easy. It's easy to decorate your plywood with all the muralists that have volunteered, and it's easy to get the artwork for free, so you don't have to paint. So you don't have to buy anything. So.
And those fines get added to the property tax bill?
Yes, similar to what we do with the water bill, correct, Jimmy?
So it's a lien.
It's a lien.
It's a lien. So it doesn't mean that the plywood would necessarily come down, but the cost would rack up as a lien. Okay, Councilmember Tovar.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to the committee. I'm in favor of this. But Carol, a question, because as you know, one of the issues or concerns that we have is enforcement. Right. And looking at the fines, and again, I see 500 and 250, but you know, in considering the impact, the financial impact it would have for staff or enforcement to go out there, those fees, the number of the fees that you have listed here, is that going to help, you know, pay for that if we need to pay for enforcement to go out there? Do you follow what I'm saying? I just want to make sure that we have.
I follow what you're saying. Well, you know, I think ultimately, sometimes we don't get things done because we're afraid of the time, you know, to be put in. So then nothing gets done, and we waste our time. I think, and maybe I'm a dreamer on this, but if other building owners see that we're serious about it, I don't see this becoming a huge problem. I see where other building owners say, boy, Gilroy is really serious. And I say that because other cities, I even had some laugh at me when I talked with them. And they said, what do you mean you have plywood up in your downtown? And I said, well, we do. And I said, you don't? No, we don't allow it. It's just told. So as soon as someone comes to get the permits, I envision community development saying to them, we have restrictions here in this town. And this is what happens when you don't comply, because we don't expect to see just papered windows or nothing in the windows or plywood up for 5 years. And I don't see this, if we're really tough on this right off the bat, I don't see this becoming a problem, because it's a way of life in Gilroy.
Right.
And our downtown could be an example to all the other,
No, and
First
thank,
Street, 10th
right,
Street.
and thank you for that. And that's the question why I'm asking that, because again, that's I think what you and I and others want, right?
Right.
We have to, again, we're not trying to penalize these individuals, but we're making sure, we need to make sure that they're going to follow whatever policies we have in place. And if that means the fines are higher, so we can have COVID enforcement out there, then maybe we need to readjust those numbers.
When I was in Palo Alto, they have a lot of empty downtown buildings, but you would never know it as you're walking, because the buildings are all maintained, and you see artwork, you see things in the window that make it look like it's actually inhabited. Watsonville was doing that for a while too, and it just makes it very welcoming to businesses that want to come and do business here. It's like, wow, this city cares, and that's what it's all about, is making us aesthetically pleasing.
And Fred, I'm glad you asked that, because as a business owner, that was a concern about carrying a stick, making this to be. But I think it's trying to we have some existing, but also moving forward that we're making a stand. I mean, a lot of the other cities we talked to, particularly Santa Cruz, they move very quickly because they have problems with squatters getting in. So they're on it as fast as they can. They were saying within their 90 days. I think this is something that I'm glad you brought up, was when they come down for permits, like Carol was saying, we need to make them aware of it. And maybe we should ask them what their plan is. We need to see what their plan, before you rip your storefront off. Please have a plan budget-wise, financially, and where you're at. We understand with COVID that there's things with windows and other things coming in. We'll work with you on that. But 3 and 5 years, that's a little beyond. So maybe we need to put something in when they come in for permits, that this ordinance, and there's some comments made, so they're made aware of it sooner.
And I think it's getting people's attention, because Saturday night I had a phone call from the 5-year man, the man that I mentioned in the report. And he said, I hired a contractor, my plywood's coming down this week. And I said, thank you. So I'm thinking, boy, without us even talking about it tonight, it's already hit the pavement, that we're very serious. And I was going to praise him about it tonight. I'll do it at the next meeting if it comes down. So.
Okay,
right.
Councilmember Klein, did you have something?
Well, I was just questioning, I know we talked about revisiting the downtown specific plan, going on an agenda item, and wondering from First Street to 10th Street, and like what you said, between 7th and 10th Street, there's places that need to address that. So maybe we can adjust that too if we look at the specific plan at some point down the future, how that fits too, right?
Absolutely. I like it. I haven't commented yet, but I like it, and I hope we can all get it to work. So I have nothing more to add than yay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So then, Jimmy, in our mind, then where is the next step? It goes to staff, or tell us the next steps, please.
Yes, Councilmember Marks, the next step is it would be incorporating the community development work plan. And we would, again, need to work with council to make sure that if that goes into the work plan, does anything get deprioritized. But we would first need to look at this and see how much time it's going to take. One thing that the committee did that helped staff is that we don't need to come back to council and really get that input. We don't need to have a community meeting because we have the committee meetings. So we've skipped quite a few steps, but until we really get legal review and such, we would need to see what this entails. But I don't think this is an overly complicated ordinance, considering that it really, one, it applies only to 2 buildings at the current time, and 2, this has already been written out there. So I could come back to you at some point and give you an estimated date, but I don't want to do that quite yet.
All right, thank you.
Well, wait, one question though. It applies, you said it applies to 2 buildings, but those 2 buildings are just between 4th and 7th.
So
Does that, it applies to
first and
1st and
10th.
10th, exactly. So there may be, it may be more than 2. But that's okay, as long as you got an answer to your question,
Mhm.
that it goes into the work plan, and then from there, we have to massage it into where.
Right.
Okay, I think the next one is going to involve more city attorney time if that goes forward. So, you want to take on that one now? Right?
Yes, Emily's here. She's going to do the report.
Okay.
And then we'll both be here to answer questions. It's just me and her because Victoria went to work for the city. So she was on our committee also.
Hi. All right, so I'm going to go over kind of a summary on why we thought this subcommittee was important, this topic. I'm going to go through kind of some definitions and our take on what we think should be implemented to solve the problem in downtown. And then we have some exemptions that we've come up with that would be helpful for building owners who are doing renovations, tenants who are doing tenant improvements, things like that. And then we'll also cover the cities that we researched to see what they implemented for their vacancy ordinance as well. So the high number of vacant buildings in downtown Gilroy can cause a major blight to our downtown area because it causes real estate prices to drop and will further suppress the economy of downtown. Furthermore, a vacant building that is boarded up or not maintained can turn people away from enjoying downtown or investing in it. The buildings encourage vandalism, breaking and entering, and misuse. Due to the longevity of vacancies and the fact that many are owned by the same parties, a vacancy ordinance is long overdue to correct the growing problem in downtown. Our definition of a vacant building is one where at least 35% or more of the building is unoccupied or not open for business or open to the public. Vacant buildings will be required to register with the City of Gilroy within 10 days of becoming vacant. So if a business closes and moves out, that's when the clock starts, essentially. Once the building is registered, the city will review the condition of the building and assess if the building needs to be brought up to code, because that's a common problem in downtown where tenants leave, building owners don't bring the buildings up to code, and that's what causes the building to be vacant for a long time. It also then has issues passing along code problems to the future tenants of the building. There will be a fine of $150 per week that will be assessed for buildings that are not registered after the 10th day of vacancy. The registration will include an annual monitoring fee of $1,500. So because this vacancy ordinance is proposing that the city does an inspection, we want this ordinance to pay essentially for itself. And so that's why the fines are assessed, and to encourage building owners not to leave it vacant. Contact information for the building owner, including name, address, and phone number, and the day the building became vacant will be collected. And this information will be posted in the window along with any codes that need to be brought up to date. The posted information will be known as the building's report card. Vacant buildings that remain vacant for longer than 60 days will incur a vacancy tax in addition to the monitoring fee. The tax and the fee will be an assessment on the building's property tax and will be the responsibility of the owner, whether or not the owner is responsible for the building not being open to the public. The vacancy tax will be an additional $6,000 per year, starting on the 10th day of vacancy or the date the building is registered, whichever is earliest. But we have, the clock starts and then they have 60 days. And then, so after the 10th day, if they've registered, then the clock starts on the 60 days. Once the 60 days is up, that's when the annual fee starts. So there's a variety of exemptions that would exempt a building owner from this. One of them would be that the building is up to code and they're actively leasing it. So their tenant moves out, they immediately, as Dave said, put up the flyer, it's for lease. There's no building code issues that's going to prevent someone from moving in. They don't have to incur this vacancy ordinance and the annual fee because they are actively trying to get tenants inside. There's an active construction permit on the building with consistent and active construction on the premises. So that means that that doesn't mean you can demo the entire interior and then have it sit without doing anything for 6 months. Even if your permit is active, you have to actively be doing construction, which is obviously not, cut and dry, but this allows a 180-day exemption from the date of registration or 10 days after vacancy, whichever comes first. If the construction is not complete within 180 days, the building owner may apply for a 90-day extension. If the owner, another exemption would be if the owner is active duty military and deployed, if the owner has died or inherited the building, they qualify, or their executors of the estate qualify for a 180-day exemption and can apply for an extension if needed. So one of our in-use definitions that might need to be further developed by staff or comments that we receive here: any ground floor commercial space will not be considered in use unless either leased out to a bona fide tenant intending to use a space for a legal activity or actually occupied by an owner or some other party for some substantially similar purpose and in an active business. So you can't just put a desk in there and not be open to the public. It has to be something that is substantially used, at least 35% of the ground floor. So when we did our research for this vacancy ordinance, we referenced the city of Sacramento, the city of Oakland, the city of Palm Springs, and the city of San Francisco. A lot of our information came from Oakland and Sacramento that also had a lot of these issues. And then Palm Springs and Fairfield had the report card, which actually helped a lot because it allowed people to know why and who was responsible for the buildings, and if they wanted to rent the building or if they were interested in the building, a number of different things instead of it being this mysterious empty building. So I'm going to turn it over to Dion for questions.
Yes. Each one of us took a handful of cities and contacted them and to learn how they deal with it. And we got a lot of the same answers from cities as Carol did. What? We don't have this problem. We don't allow it. So, and I called Oakland, and I talked to their city manager, their city attorney, and their community development director, and it's working for them. It pays for itself. And one thing I want to point out, we're not talking about just downtown. This is citywide. Nobody wants a vacant eyesore next door to them. And there are some properties in Gilroy that have been vacant for years, old rundown houses that are just sitting there empty. And so this is something that'll be citywide, and we're taking the approach of it would have to go to a ballot measure, I believe. Our attorney will have to get more into that. But we would put the fines on their taxes. We would turn them into the county tax collector. They put them on there. And so this way, it has teeth. No bank's going to loan you any money on a property that you owe back taxes on. So we believe that that's going to help in a lot of ways. And everything on here is just what we came up with. It can all be changed by the council or thrown out or however. So we're here for any questions.
Okay, since I didn't ask for public comment on part one, I'm going to ask now. Are there any members of the public wanting to speak on this that are waiting?
I received no speaker cards, Madam
No
Mayor.
speaker cards. Okay, so that being said, I'm looking to council for questions on this part, the vacancy ordinance part. I have one if nobody else does.
I do.
Okay.
I'm on the.
Oh, sorry,
can't
I'm
see
looking
it.
at the ordinance, so
That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few things, but I could come back to them. But one thing that stuck out to me is their contact information. As name and address, it doesn't include their email address, which I think is important to have. And in one way, I think it does go pretty far. Like, it's kind of, I would be alarmed if my information was posted publicly on a building downtown. But I do think that it's important, not just for the stick, right, to hold people accountable and for the public to know these are the folks that are keeping this building vacant and not, not getting it occupied. But at the same time, also, I think Carol pointed it out, right, that it'll help for people who want to occupy that building, a small business or a micro business or somebody, to be able to contact them, because it does feel like a mystery, even for myself as a council member, to find out who owns a building or what business is there and stuff like that. So I think that does balance out, and I support that. No question. Okay. Except, could we add email? Could we add their email address on there?
So there's a question
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Yeah. I'd like to ask about the in-use definition, or where the part, I don't know what page this is on exactly, but it says where in-use definition would need to be further developed, and it gives an example. And I know this one definitely is going to have to go through city attorney and stuff, but I would like to make sure that it is the council's intent, because I think it should be, that in use, where it says, or actually occupied by an owner or some other party for some substantially similar purpose, that it address, if it's owner occupied, that owner can't call it just their personal office that they are actually never in, and call it occupied. I think we need to make sure that definition that is getting at what it is intending to get at, and that is that there is a bona fide activity going on in there, and not like if I'm the business owner and it's just convenient for me to make my office there, even though I have an office somewhere else, and I'm if I'm not there daily in my office with the office open to the public, or however it's supposed to be open when it's on the ground floor, I just want to make sure that gets addressed however we intend for that to be addressed. Because I think some of the vacant buildings that have been vacant for years, are being used just as storage by their owners, and they're not open. They're just, the owners are just keeping those buildings without tenants, without selling the buildings, and using it just to store some stuff.
And that's what we're trying to address.
Exactly.
Right? Having it for storage with a desk sitting in front.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm trying to point out that in this it would be easy to. If you have to be in the microphone, Emily, because the public has to hear you too. Okay.
There's a microphone right there.
Oh, either one. Yeah, either microphone.
So we did consider that too, and
Okay.
I wasn't sure. We were looking at this for downtown, so this might be different citywide. But in downtown, and I don't know for sure if it's 1st through 10th, but I know that ground floor buildings cannot be office. They have to be retail or something like that. And so in our definition, we did include that at least 35% occupied, but it has to be open for business and open to the public.
Right,
So
open
it
to the
cannot,
public.
So that's kind of, we had this in use definition, but I was concerned about that too, because there are, I specifically know of 3 that are basically storage units for different building owners, but you have to have retail or restaurant or something in downtown on ground floor. So that will help that problem. Citywide, don't know, but.
Okay, so the activity has to invite foot traffic.
Yes, and it
so
has to be
speak.
at least 35% occupied, so, and open to public. So it can't just be like one corner of it, it has to be a substantial amount.
Yeah, and open to the public.
Yeah.
Yes. Doors can't be locked all day. Yeah, okay. Okay, are there any other comments from council? Then it looks like this moves forward, right? I'm sorry? I asked. He said there wasn't. Oh, we have one now.
Yes, I just received one
Oh.
for the vacancy ordinance.
Sorry. Okay, I thought I closed public comment. Okay.
Give me
open
1
it.
second so I can get her set up.
Okay, hang on.
Public comments spoken on the
Over
middle.
here.
Okay, sorry. Sorry about that. Dion, you mentioned making this a citywide. Are you trying first, if we get this adoption, and then later putting it on a ballot, since it's just a downtown subcommittee?
Well, yes, we would go ahead and enact it and then go to the ballot so that we can.
Try and add that.
Otherwise, the fines would just be, assessed on the property like the city does it, but it doesn't have any teeth.
But right now, it's just our focus is downtown, and then later, if this gets adopted, to pushing it out for a vote as citywide.
No, now, the whole thing would be citywide.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't aware of that on the committee, because in a sense it was a downtown subcommittee. I didn't realize we could It could be branched out. Okay, so that was one question. Secondly, on the annual monitoring fee of $1,500, does that get the business owner any assistance? Why the $1,500 fee? Is there anything that?
Because the city's going to have to go out and inspect it from time to time and keep an eye on it. We would envision that our department here at the city would have a list of properties, and they would actually monitor them, make sure, they're not getting run down.
Okay. That and
okay, I just want to make sure this is 3 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you have
okay.
time, but
Okay.
this is unusual. We don't usually do Q&A. It's usually just public
Well, we
comment.
had it
So go
earlier
ahead.
when we were presenting. Okay,
I know.
sorry.
Go
Real
ahead.
quick, and then like Rebecca had shared, sometimes like putting your owners' names out there. I mean, I understand the purpose of that, to have, hey, this building's available and so forth, but in some cases, like my parents being elderly, I don't want them reached out to or so forth, so if I'm working with a realtor or someone in assistance with that. So I think hopefully that would be flexible as in what you can put up on.
Or agent, you mean?
Yeah, that you're not putting the owner's name. There'd be a name per se and something different and not an address or anything with that. So that was just a concern. And then is there any assistance that would be from the city of Gilroy in helping a owner, get their building? Of course, we want to rent it. Not everybody. I know we have the challenges, but there is a lot of business owners that want to get somebody in. So, is there any assistance that we might have from one of our offices or the community area within the city of Gilroy
That would be something totally different.
with that? Okay, didn't know if we had anything that would be
Wouldn't the
available.
facade improvement or economic
Right.
development
But
person
that's
be able to
something
help
totally
them?
different than this.
Mayor.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I
Okay.
think that, just
Council- wait,
really
Councilor
quick to
Berman
finish,
has a
is just
question?
that,
Okay.
no, I think.
No, you're sorry, time, thanks, Jeannie.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah, but just in regard to Jeannie's question at the end is, there are resources available, right? But they would be separate from this ordinance, right? They just already exist.
Okay, no, Jean, you can't talk from the audience. Okay, Councilmember Tovar, sorry.
Madam Mayor? Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
We still have public comment open, so before discussion, can we close it?
Yes, closing public comment. Okay, so it is now closed. So I thought I had said that before, so sorry. Okay,
Thank you,
Councilmember
Mayor.
Tovar.
Thank you, and maybe, Dion, looking at the staff report, it mentions a vacancy exception, could be power restoration delays from PG&E, but the draft vacancy ordinance that's attached does not outline this. Can this be incorporated into the recommendations for the draft ordinance?
Anything can be put into it when we go forward with it.
Then if so, then I would propose that this be added to the recommendations for the vacancy tax ordinance because of the PG&E stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, does anybody want to comment on that, or did everybody share that adding that? Yeah. That's fine.
Okay.
With the same restrictions, though.
Of course.
Then they've got to be actively calling, because we've heard that too, right?
Right.
I'm waiting on
Exactly.
PG&E, but nobody's actually contacted PG&E.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So, all right.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then. Is that sufficient direction? Jimmy? Okay, and again, this is something that you'll come back to us with when it fits or how it fits or what we do. Okay. Okay, thanks, everybody. That takes care of 11.2.
Good job.
Yeah,
good
very,
job.
very good job. Okay. 11.3, Police Department, is it Axon? Program and Community Survey Update.
Madam Mayor, members of council, Captain Juan Rocha will be providing this presentation, and this is an update on the 10-year contract that council approved with Axon back at the beginning of, right before the fiscal year. And so this has aided us tremendously in our goals to increase officer safety and transparency with the community. So Captain Rocha is going to share some of those highlights with you, and also some of the features that have been very beneficial.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and members of the public, the Administrator. Again, my presentation is on the Police Department Axon Program and Community Update. A little bit of background. The department's priority has always been to improve the safety of our personnel and also increase transparency. And as you may remember, on June 19th, 2023, the council authorized a 10-year contract with Axon to purchase the Officer Safety Plan 7 and Fleet 3 package. The use of body-worn cameras, or BWCs, and in-car cameras is the best policing approach to promote accountability and transparency. The BWCs and conducted energy weapons, or more commonly referred to as tasers, and in-car cameras that we were deploying prior to the approval of the new contract had reached the end of their technological life cycle. And additionally, the previous camera systems, they logged video evidence via independent servers that required maintenance by city staff. So after the contract was approved, we purchased and acquired the equipment from Axon in July of 2023. And then we spent August and September training our staff and those authorized to carry a taser and body-worn cameras, making sure they were trained and certified to deploy the equipment. On September 25th, 2023, we officially went live with the body-worn cameras, tasers, and the Fleet 3 is scheduled to be deployed in March of 2024. Axon will be here in February to do the installation on our patrol vehicles. And the cost for Fleet 3 will be prorated to reflect March 1st, 2024 effective date. So this is now our new taser. It's the Taser 7. It is activated manually, and we will receive new tasers on July 30th, 2030 as part of the contract. The yearly certification training material, the training vouchers for our instructors, all that is included as part of the contract, as well as the training cartridges and our live or on-duty cartridges. The Axon Body 3 is our new body cameras that we've deployed, and I have mine here to pass around so you guys can take a look. Again, it's the Axon Body 3. It is activated manually with the press of the center button, or also via the sidearm signal, which is a Bluetooth activation. So if an officer draws his firearm or taser, the camera gets activated automatically. And then it'll activate any cameras that are in the proximate area of whoever's drawing their gun or their taser.
Of other officers?
Correct.
That's something new, right?
It is new technology for us, yes. We will receive new body-worn cameras January 1st, 2026, July 1st, 2028, January 1st, 2031, and July 1st, 2033. And we'll receive whatever is the most updated technology that Axon has to offer. Evidence.com, as you can tell, it's an evidence management system. It manages all types of physical and digital evidence, such as video, photos, documents, private video surveillance. The system allows for seamless sharing of evidence with the district attorney's office. The community can share digital evidence with the department as long as they receive a link from a police officer. And it also includes a redaction assistance software to detect and mask everyday objects, such as license plate, faces, and screens. It also came with the Axon Virtual Reality, or VR system, which enhances an officer's ability to better address community needs with critical thinking and de-escalation skills. Our defensive tactics training staff have already began training with the device, and they're going to implement the VR training during the 2024 training schedule for the department. As part of the contract, we will receive 3 new VR systems throughout the duration of the contract. And there's other benefits from the Axon technology. One of them is that all the Axon equipment and software, they integrate, talk to each other, as well as with our CAD and RMS system, RIMS, that we purchased about 2 years ago. The entire system is cloud-based, and Axon will replace all equipment that malfunctions or breaks. They've already replaced a taser that was submerged underwater during an incident. And then it has reduced the workload of our IT staff, as there's no servers that require maintenance. Axon Respond, that allows for supervisors to view real-time live footage from an officer's body-worn camera, and they can determine their location during critical incidents such as active shooters, officer-involved incidents, which, again, we've already utilized this technology to look at an officer who was in need of emergency assistance. We were able to figure out where he was located. And then the Axon View and Capture, it allows officers to capture photo and video evidence directly from their issued smartphones out in the field and directly upload it to the evidence.com system without having to drive to the police department. And then as far as the surveys, it's software called My90 by Axon. Part of the department's work plan for fiscal years 24 and 25 is to increase the department's transparency and community trust building via community surveys. My90 Axon was identified as a tool to help accomplish that goal. And then My90 offers both external and internal surveys that are 100% anonymous. And actually, the internal surveys were sent out today for the first time. And this will help us get a pulse of the department's training needs, morale, and health. The community survey and post-contact surveys went live on October 1st, 2023. The community survey can be taken by anyone by scanning a QR code that I will share at the end of the presentation. It allows the community to provide input on public safety concerns, their view of the police department, and input on how the department can better serve them. And then individuals can choose to provide their demographic information for both surveys. And then the post-contact survey is sent out daily to community members who receive police services for certain type of incidents such as thefts, missing persons, stolen vehicles, and threats. And those who receive the survey are victims or callers in need of police services. The department receives daily results from the surveys and can analyze the data on the My90 dashboard, which I'll share on the next couple slides. So this right here is the My90 Axon dashboard. This information was pulled last Thursday, January 4th. And we've sent out about 2,500 surveys, and we've had about 393 responses, which is about a 15.3% response rate. From talking to Axon, this is a slightly higher response rate than other departments, so it's good response rate. And if you look at the chart on the right or the center, out of those responses, 230 responses, or 63%, view the department in a very positive view. 88 responses, or 24%, have a positive view of the department. 25 responses, or 7%, have a neutral view of the department. 13 responses, or 4%, reply that they have a negative view of the department. And 7 responses, or 2% of the total, have a very negative view of the department. As far as community sentiment, out of the surveys that were sent back, 81% have a positive view of the agency. And if you look to the right, it actually compares from the previous 30 to 60 days. And our score increased by 5% from the previous 60 days. 92% of the responses felt they were treated with respect. 88% felt they were treated fairly. 88% felt they were listened to. 90% understood what they were told. And 84% had their questions answered. Now, the chart on the top right, there's a follow-up question that says, "Did you receive the help that you needed?" And it's an optional question. They don't have to answer the question, but we did receive 218 responses. 190, or 87.2%, responded that they did receive the help they needed, and 28 responses, or 12.8%, responded that they did not receive the help they needed. So out of those 28 individuals that responded that they did not receive the help they needed, they were asked a follow-up question, which was, what was the reason you did not receive the help that you needed? And there's two options. One option is, I was told that this was not a police matter, and then an officer did not respond or follow up with me. If you can tell the percentages, they're somewhat misleading in this slide, because on the live dashboard, when you click on the percentages, it's really a reflection of 6 responses that we got out of the 28 that answered that specific question. And then when you compare the view of the agency versus race and ethnicity, it lists if they provide their race, it compares their race to how they view the department. The darker areas of the slide, it just represents a higher response from that specific race under that column. So we have a higher response rate under very positively for Hispanic, Latino, and white individuals that took the survey who chose to provide their demographic information. And part of the survey too is what is your top safety concern in your community? As you can tell, the top two is homelessness and theft. And then on the chart to the right, it compares it month by month. October, if you can tell, October 2023, the main concern was homelessness, and then November it went. The number one priority was theft, and number two was homelessness. So it is able to distinguish from month to month what the top concern is for the community based on the responses. The next question I'd ask is, what would you most like Gilroy PD do to improve safety in the community? And the number one response is increased patrol car visibility. And here's some more demographic information if they choose to provide. 117 provided their gender. There was the option of male, female, and non-binary. And then age group. 118 individuals provided their age group. So next steps for the police department is we're going to explore best deployment practices as we receive new equipment throughout the lifetime of the contract. With new equipment is we'll receive more contemporary technology. And then we're going to utilize social media platforms and community engagement events to encourage community members to complete the post-contact and the community surveys. And then the dashboard that I showed you, we're going to actually post a link on our website to make it, share with the public. So they'll be able to go on there daily and look at our scores for the different areas that we're asking for information on. So with that, I'll take any questions or comments. And this is the QR code for the community survey, if anyone would like to take the survey.
Well, thank you, Captain, very much for that report. Your body cam thingy is right over there for you to, yeah, that thing's heavy.
It is.
That's pretty heavy. Boy, of all the things you got to wear. Okay, any questions? Councilmember Bracco?
So is this up and running now?
The dashboard?
Yeah.
So we've been collecting data from surveys since October 2023. The dashboard will be available to the public beginning this week.
Now, is the police department actively, like daily, monitoring what's going on with that? So if there's a problem, they can call the people?
So it is 100% anonymous unless someone leaves a name and number. We have no way to track the individual that made whatever comments.
Can a citizen go in there and make a complaint?
Technically, yes, if they provide their name and number and a way to contact them. But it's not intended to receive complaints. That's not the main focus of the survey.
So does it have like a contact us part in there, where if someone wants to talk to, a captain or something, they can go through that program and do that?
There is a box or a question at the end is, would you like to provide any additional information? And then they can type whatever they would like to type, contact me at this number.
Okay.
But I think that's already on the police department website, though, right? If you want
We
to
do
make a
have our
complaint
complaint form and commendation
contact
form on our department website.
their general website.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Armendariz?
Thank you, Captain, for the information. I'm wondering, is the survey sent to, the post survey sent to everyone?
The
who calls
post-contact
in?
survey is sent to everyone that receives services for the call list that we've predetermined. So the type of calls or the type of incidents. If they provide a cell phone when they call in, they will receive a survey.
Okay, so just for folks who call about those particular needs or requests.
Correct. So, for example, we left out, we have a type call or type incident for a dead body. Where we don't want to send the relatives of a deceased, a survey on how we did.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to...
Madam Mayor?
Oh,
We do have public comment,
Okay,
yes.
sorry. Public comment. Opening public comment.
One speaker, and it's Ron Kirkish.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As the captain was talking, I got to thinking about the issue of, it's been since, I believe, 1986 that that Gilroy determined the number of officers necessary to protect our city. 1986. And our city has grown substantially to 54,000. I think that number needs to be readjusted. I don't know how to do that or what that number should be, but it seems to me I do the police blotter every week, and I send it out to the community the best I can. And we do have a lot of crime going on, so I do believe we need more officers. I'd like to see something updated about what we really need now instead of what we needed back in 1986. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
No other speaker cards, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Closing public comment, and thank you, Captain, for the report. Okay, item 11.4, consent to the appointment of Heath McMahon as Utilities Director. Leanne McPhillips, yay!
Hi, good evening, Council, members of the community. We're happy to bring forward tonight the appointment of our new Utilities Director, our first Utilities Director. We recently completed the recruitment process for this position. This was consistent with the Council's approval of the creation of a Utilities Department as part of the fiscal year 24 budget. After we've concluded a series of panel interviews comprised of subject matter experts, a community member, department heads, the city administrator, a top finalist was selected, Heath McMahon. He has been identified as a strong fit for this position. He completed a thorough background check, and at this time, our city administrator, Jimmy Forbes, is recommending that Mr. McMahon be appointed as Gilroy's first utilities director. He brings over 25 years of related work experience, having worked in both local government and utility districts across California. He previously held positions with Valley Water and Zone 7 Water Agency, and prior to coming to Northern California, he worked for 2 districts in Southern California, as well as the city of San Clemente. He started his career in civil engineering, holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Cal State University Long Beach. He's also a licensed professional civil engineer in the state of California. He's really excited to join the Gilroy team, and consistent with our city charter, the council needs to consent the city administrator's recommendation to appoint a department head, so that's the reason for this coming before you tonight. Upon the consent of the city council, we will issue a final offer letter, and he is scheduled to begin employment later this week. Happy to answer any questions.
Yay, thank you. I'd like to, if you guys don't mind, first, is there public comment on this item?
No speaker cards, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Closing public comment, and now to council. Councilmember Tovar.
Thank you, Leanne, for this. Knowing the importance of this position, I have a couple questions for you. If this is approved, will Mr. McMahon be working in the office here at City Hall?
Yes, he will.
Okay. Does Mr. McMahon live in Gilroy?
No, he does not.
Can you share where he lives?
South San Jose.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. What do we do here? A motion. I need a motion to consent to the city.
So moved.
Okay. All right, who wants to take it? I heard Councilmember Armendariz making the motion. Okay, it's seconded by Councilmember Bracco.
And this can be a digital vote.
A digital vote, okay. Has everybody voted? There it is. Unanimous with the one absent. Okay. Thank you. All right, city administrators' reports.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members of the City Council, Bryce is going to bring up a slide to show you the final product for the Gilroy Garlic Festival Memorial. This project was approved by council a few months ago with some really well thought out direction, and our staff handled it very professionally. The work, everything but the monument, was done by our Public Works Department, and even the monument installer complimented us on how good a job they did. So I'm really proud of them for doing a good job with this. This is the memorial that council approved, and the total cost of this entire project was about $2,800. So it was done very respectfully, and so I wanted to show that to council.
It's beautiful.
To finish this project out, and I'm very proud of our community. We've received a lot of good feedback, and I think we got this one right. So thank you for the support from council. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Jimmy. I feel like we should mention that Habing's Funeral Home did take care of making this at their cost. It wasn't donated, but it was at their cost. So that's how a lot of this came down. So it was very nice to work with them. Okay. Yeah, and Councilmember Armendariz, do you like the garlic on the bottom?
It looks beautiful.
Okay. City Attorney's reports?
No report tonight.
All right. Then with that, we are adjourned at 8:01 p.m.
I know. Trying to save on heating bills?